The bell above the diner door jingled softly as Emma wiped her hands on her apron. Her shift had just started, and already she could feel the fatigue from the late night before. The cold morning breeze followed a man inside, an older gentleman in a suit who nodded politely and took a seat by the window without saying a word. Emma tucked a loose strand of hair behind her ear and walked over with her usual forced smile. "Good morning. Coffee to start?" she asked. The man didn't look up. His eyes were fixed outside, watching the cars roll past. After a beat, he nodded. Emma poured his cup and placed it gently on the table. He still hadn't spoken. She waited a second longer, thinking he might place an order, but nothing came. Shrugging it off, Emma turned to tend to the other customers, but something about the man nagged at her. His silence didn't feel rude, it felt heavy. By noon, the diner was buzzing. Plates clattered, babies cried. The radio crackled with oldies. Emma weaved through it all like she always did, smiling, listening, serving. She barely noticed the restaurant manager, Frank, until he barked her name from the kitchen door. "Emma." A word. Now, her stomach dropped. She wiped her hands again, heart pounding, as she stepped into the back. Frank's face was red, more than usual. He looked angry, or maybe just tired of her. "You were 20 minutes late again. I told you, the bus broke down. I even called." "That's not the point." He waved her off. "You've been slipping. Last week you spilled coffee on a customer. The week before, you messed up an order for the mayor's wife. I can't cover for you anymore." "Please, Frank," she said quickly. "I need this job. I'm saving up for my brother's surgery. He's all I've got." He hesitated, just long enough to give her hope. Then he said, "I'm sorry. We have to let you go." Emma didn't cry. Not until she reached the alley behind the diner, where no one could see her. She sat on the concrete, back pressed against the wall, and let the tears fall. Inside, the man in the suit finally looked away from the window. He reached for the bill, but as he stood to leave, his eyes caught something shiny glinting beneath the sunlight as Emma emerged from the alley, wiping her cheeks and adjusting her necklace. His breath caught. His hands trembled. That pendant. He froze. Emma was too far away to notice him staring. She walked quickly across the street, head low, unaware of the storm that had begun to form. The man didn't leave a tip. He didn't finish his coffee. He just stood there motionless, eyes wide, before finally whispering, "It can't be." That night, Emma sat by her brother's hospital bed. 10-year-old Lucas looked pale, but smiled when he saw her. "You look tired," he said. She smiled faintly. "Long day. Did you make enough today?" "For the medicine." Her smile cracked. She looked away. Lucas said nothing. He always knew when to stop asking. At midnight, Emma walked the city alone. The streets shimmered from a recent rain. She looked at her pendant, the small silver disc with a strange insignia etched into it. It was the only thing her mother had left behind before disappearing 10 years ago. Emma never took it off. That's when a black car pulled up beside her. The window rolled down, and there he was, the man from the diner. "You dropped something," he said, holding up a folded napkin. Emma frowned. "I don't think." He got out of the car before she could finish. He was taller than she remembered, imposing, but his voice was calm. "Your name is Emma, correct?" She hesitated. "Yeah, why?" "May I ask where you got that pendant?" Her hand instinctively went to it. "Why?" "Please," he said, almost pleading now. "It's very important." She looked him over. He didn't look dangerous, but the intensity in his eyes was unsettling. "My mother gave it to me," she said slowly, before she disappeared. The man's face went pale. He stumbled back a step like he'd been punched. "Her name," he whispered. "Was it Claire?" Emma's breath caught. "How do you know that?" He looked down. When he raised his eyes again, they were glassy. "I think I might be your grandfather." She laughed, a short, bitter sound. "What?" "I've searched for years," he said. "Claire ran away. Took something from me. Something I didn't even know she had. That pendant, it belonged to my wife. It's one of a kind." Emma backed away. "No. You're crazy." "I can prove it," he said quickly. "Please. Let me take you somewhere. just for a few minutes. She looked down the street. Empty. Silent. No one to ask for help. But something inside her, maybe curiosity, maybe instinct, nodded. The car ride was quiet. She kept one hand on the door handle the whole time. They stopped outside a mansion. Emma stared. "This is yours," he said. "If you are who I think you are." Inside, everything was marble and chandeliers. The air smelled like wealth and old secrets. He led her into a room filled with photographs, dusty frames of a young woman with auburn hair. Her mother. "She was my daughter," the man said softly. "We fought. She left. I thought she'd come back, but she never did." He opened a drawer and pulled out a box. Inside was a twin pendant, identical to Emma's. "She must have given you hers," he said. "That confirms it." Emma sat down. Her head spun. All these years, alone working dead-end jobs, sleeping in shelters, when this man, this billionaire, had been out there? "I don't understand," she said. "Why didn't you look for her?" "I did," he said quietly. "But she didn't want to be found. She wanted to scream, cry, ask a million questions. But instead, she asked just one. Why now?" He looked at her. "Because you walked into that diner." Suddenly, a voice cut through the air. "She's lying." Emma turned. A woman stood in the doorway, tall, elegant, ice in her veins. "My daughter," the man said. "Vivian." The woman stepped forward. "She's trying to scam you." "I'm not." Emma shouted. "I didn't even know." She could have found that pendant anywhere. Bought it online. She knew what she was doing. The man's face darkened. "Enough, Vivian." "No," she snapped. "She shows up out of nowhere, and you're ready to give her everything? You don't even know her." "She has Claire's eyes," he whispered. Emma stood. "I didn't come here to take anything. I just lost my job. My brother's sick. I didn't ask for any of this." Vivian sneered. "Of course. There's always a sob story." "I want a DNA test," the old man said. Vivian looked stunned. "Father, you can't be serious." He turned to Emma. "Will you do it?" Emma nodded. "Yes." The next few days were a blur. Hospital visits, lawyers, DNA swabs, and silence. Then the results came. Positive. She was his granddaughter. Everything changed overnight. A lawyer contacted her. Documents were signed. A trust was established. But Vivian didn't disappear. She watched, waited. And then one night, Lucas's hospital room was broken into. Nothing was taken, but his medication was tampered with. Emma screamed when she saw him convulsing. Lucas recovered, barely, but the doctors said if she'd been 10 minutes later. She didn't sleep that night. Neither did her grandfather. "I know it was Vivian," Emma said. He said nothing. "Do something," she pleaded. "I will," he promised. "But I have to be sure." The next morning, he was gone. Vanished. Emma was questioned by police. Vivian claimed she threatened him, that she was angry about not getting more money, that she wanted revenge. Emma was arrested. The press swarmed. The pendant, once a symbol of hope, now sat in an evidence bag. Alone in a cold cell, Emma stared at the walls. Everything had been taken from her again. But as she closed her eyes, something new awoke inside her. Not despair, not sorrow. Something colder, sharper. She would find out what happened. She would uncover the truth, even if it destroyed everything. Days in the cell felt like an eternity. The cold walls seemed to close in on Emma with every passing minute, and she could feel the weight of the accusations pressing down on her chest. Her heart was heavy, her mind racing with questions that no one seemed to have answers to. She had been framed. That much was clear. But by whom? And why? It wasn't just about the money or the inheritance. There was something deeper at play, something her grandfather had been hiding from her. And now, she was paying the price for his secrets. The lawyer assigned to her case was a man named Darren. He was tall, with a neatly trimmed beard and glasses that seemed to sit too perfectly on his face. He had a kind demeanor, but didn't waste time with pleasantries. When he came to visit her in the cell, Emma immediately noticed the exhaustion in his eyes. His suit was disheveled, his tie crooked. He didn't look like a man who had been dealing with an easy case. "Emma," he started, His voice low but firm. "We're doing everything we can, but I need you to understand something." He paused, looking at her closely. "This is bigger than you think." Emma's eyes narrowed. "What do you mean?" He sat down across from her, glancing over his shoulder to ensure no one was listening. "Vivian, she's not just some jealous family member. She's connected. More than you know." "What does that mean?" Emma asked, her pulse quickening. Darren rubbed his temples. "I've been digging into your family history. There are things, dark things, that your grandfather didn't want you to know. Things that go back decades." Emma leaned forward, her heart pounding in her chest. "What kind of things?" Darren hesitated for a moment before speaking, as though weighing his words carefully. "Your mother didn't just run away. She didn't disappear because she wanted to start a new life. There was something sinister going on, something she was running from. And your grandfather, he's more involved than anyone realizes." Emma's stomach twisted. "What do you mean by sinister?" "I'm not sure yet," Darren said quietly. "But I found some old records. Financial transactions. Correspondence. Your grandfather, he was involved in illegal activities. Major ones." Emma's breath caught in her throat. "Illegal activities? My grandfather." Darren nodded grimly. "Yes. And it looks like Vivian was too. I think they've both been hiding something for years. Something they didn't want anyone to know, especially you." Emma's mind raced. This was too much to take in all at once. Her grandfather, the man who had supposedly been trying to reconnect with her, was involved in something criminal? And Vivian, she wasn't just a jealous stepdaughter. She was a part of it too. But what did this have to do with her mother? What had Emma's mother run away from? What were they all hiding? "I don't understand," Emma said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Why didn't he tell me? Why didn't he trust me with this?" Darren's face softened. "I think your grandfather's intentions were never to drag you into this. But I also think he underestimated what Vivian would do to keep the family's secrets buried. I think he thought he could protect you. But now Vivian's framed me," Emma finished for him, bitterness creeping into her words. "Exactly," Darren said. "But we have one advantage. The truth. We just need to find it." Emma nodded slowly, her resolve hardening. She didn't care about the inheritance anymore. She didn't care about the wealth or the mansion. She only cared about the truth, and the truth about her mother, her grandfather, and the dangerous web they were all tangled in. If she had to tear down everything to uncover it, she would. The next few days were a blur of lawyers, investigations, and more questions. Darren managed to secure her release on bail, though the charges against her still loomed over her like a dark cloud. As soon as Emma was free, she immediately set out to learn everything she could about her family's past. She spent hours at the library, digging through old records and newspaper clippings. She pored over letters and documents that had been hidden away for years. But nothing made sense. Everything she uncovered only led to more questions, more confusion. Her mother's disappearance was tied to something much bigger than she had ever imagined. One day, while Emma was going through a stack of old documents in her grandfather's mansion, she came across a letter addressed to her mother. It was in an envelope marked with an old insignia, one that Emma had never seen before. The handwriting on the envelope was elegant, precise, and immediately recognizable. It was her grandfather's. With trembling hands, Emma opened the letter and began to read. "Claire, if you are reading this, it means that you've made a decision that cannot be undone. I know you've always hated me for what happened between us, but I need you to understand something. The things we were involved in, the things I did them to protect you. I couldn't let them destroy you too. The truth about your mother is more dangerous than you know. You have to leave. You have to take the pendant and run. It is the only way you will survive. I love you, Claire. I'm sorry. I hope one day you'll understand why I did what I did." Emma's heart raced as she read the letter. Her grandfather had known her mother was in danger. He had known she had to run, and he had sent her away to protect her. But protect her from what? And why was the pendant so important? What did it mean? And why did her mother leave everything behind without a word? The letter didn't answer any of these questions. It only left Emma with more uncertainty, more fear. But one thing was clear. Her grandfather's actions weren't just those of a man hiding from the law. They were the actions of someone desperate, someone trying to cover up a past so dark that it threatened to consume everyone involved. As Emma sat there, holding the letter in her hands, a sudden realization hit her. The pendant, it wasn't just a family heirloom. It was a key to something far more significant than she had ever imagined. And now, Vivian was trying to take that key from her, to bury whatever secrets it unlocked once and for all. Later that evening, Emma sat in the dimly lit study of her grandfather's mansion, the pendant resting in her palm. She couldn't stop thinking about the letter. She couldn't stop wondering what her mother had known, what her grandfather had done, and how it all tied into the events of the past few days. It was all too much, too many layers of lies, betrayal, and family secrets. But one thing was certain. She was going to find the truth. She had to. She stood up and walked over to the large bookshelf that lined the far wall of the study. As she ran her fingers along the spines of old books, one of them caught her eye. It was an old leather-bound journal, worn with age, the cover cracked and faded. Emma pulled it from a shelf and opened it carefully, flipping through the pages. The handwriting was faint but legible, and as she read, her heart sank. It was her grandfather's journal. But it wasn't just a journal. It was a confession. The things we did, Claire, they were wrong. The people we worked with, the power they had, it wasn't just about money or greed. It was about control. They would stop at nothing to get what they wanted. And when you found out, when you started asking questions, I knew you were in danger. I had to protect you, even if it meant pushing you away. I had to make sure you didn't get involved in what was coming. I had to make sure you stayed safe. Emma's breath caught in her throat. She had been right all along. Her mother had found out something dangerous, and her grandfather had been trying to keep her away from it for years. But Emma was no longer going to be kept in the dark. Later that night, she received a phone call. It was Darren. "Emma," he said, his voice tense. "I've found something big. You need to meet me now." Her heart skipped a beat. "What is it?" "I can't explain over the phone," Darren replied. "But you need to come. It's about your grandfather. And it's about Vivian." Emma rushed out of the mansion, her mind racing. She didn't know what Darren had uncovered, but whatever it was enough to make him call her in the middle of the night. The truth, finally, it was within reach. And she was going to find it, no matter the cost. As she drove to the meeting place, her thoughts swirled. She had no idea what was waiting for her, but she knew one thing for sure. She was about to uncover the final piece of the puzzle that had haunted her family for years. And it was going to change everything. As Emma pulled up to the dilapidated warehouse, the moonlight casting long shadows over the crumbling structure, she felt a chill that had nothing to do with the cool night air. There was something undeniably eerie about the place, and she couldn't shake the feeling that she was walking right into the heart of a mystery much darker than she had imagined. She parked her car in the lot and hesitated for a moment, her hand hovering over the door handle. Every instinct told her to turn back, but she couldn't. Not now. She had come this far, and there was no turning back. The truth was within her grasp, and she wouldn't let fear stand in her way. The warehouse loomed ahead, a black monolith in the night. Emma could barely make out the outline of a figure standing near the entrance. Darren. She took a deep breath, steeling herself, and approached him. "Darren," she called out softly, and he turned to face her, his face tight with urgency. "I'm glad you came," he said, his voice low and cautious, as if he were worried about being overheard. "But we don't have much time. Follow me." He led her inside, the creaking of the door echoing in the cavernous, empty space. Inside, the faint smell of mildew mixed with the remnants of something far older. Decay, perhaps, or forgotten secrets. It was a stark contrast to the pristine wealth of her grandfather's mansion, and for the first time, Emma felt the weight of what she had uncovered. It wasn't just about a family inheritance anymore. It was about survival. "Darren, what's going on?" she asked, her voice filled with a mixture of fear and determination. "What have you found?" He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he led her deeper into the warehouse, past piles of dusty crates and broken machinery, to a small office at the back. Inside, a single light bulb hung overhead, casting a dim, yellowish glow. A man in a dark suit was waiting for them. His face was unfamiliar, but the intensity in his eyes sent a shiver down Emma's spine. "This is Agent Klein," Darren said, introducing the man. "He's with the FBI." Emma's pulse quickened. "The FBI? What does this have to do with the FBI?" "Everything," Klein said, his voice low and serious. "Your grandfather's criminal activities. He wasn't just involved in illegal business dealings. He was part of a much larger operation, one that went far beyond family ties." Emma's heart began to race. "What do you mean? What operation?" Klein motioned for her to sit. "Let me explain. The inheritance, the pendant, your grandfather's wealth, it was all tied to an underground network. A network of powerful individuals involved in money laundering, arms dealing, and worse. Your grandfather wasn't just hiding money. He was hiding dangerous people. And when you found out about the pendant, when you started asking questions, you became a target." Emma's breath caught in her throat. She had known her grandfather had secrets, but this was more than she had ever imagined. He had been hiding not just wealth, but a network of criminals. And now she was involved. She had walked into a storm she wasn't prepared for, and yet there was no turning back. "So Vivian," Emma's voice faltered. "She knew about all of this?" Klein nodded. "Vivian was part of it. She's been working with some very dangerous people for years. She knew about your grandfather's connection to the operation, and she was determined to keep it hidden. When she saw the pendant, she knew it could be used as leverage. It was her way of making sure the truth never got out." Darren stepped forward, his face filled with regret. "Emma, I didn't tell you everything. Vivian didn't just frame you. She was trying to get rid of you because you were getting too close. She wanted to ensure that the truth stayed buried forever." Emma's mind spun. She had been used, manipulated. Vivian hadn't just framed her for the theft. She had made sure Emma was caught in the middle of this dark web. The inheritance, the pendant, the accusations, it was all part of Vivian's plan to take control of everything. She had known that Emma would eventually start asking questions, and Vivian had used her own curiosity against her. "I don't understand," Emma whispered. "Why did my grandfather never tell me any of this? Why did he let me walk into this trap?" Klein's face softened. "Your grandfather didn't want this life for you. He didn't want you involved in the mess he had made. But it was too late. He knew that the longer you stayed in the dark, the more dangerous it would be for you. He tried to protect you, even if it meant pushing you away." Darren nodded in agreement. He knew you would find out eventually. And he knew Vivian would stop at nothing to make sure you never did. That's why he left you the pendant. It wasn't just an heirloom, it was a warning. Emma sat in stunned silence, the weight of their words pressing down on her. Her grandfather had been trying to protect her all along, but it was too late. Vivian had already ensnared her in a dangerous game, and now Emma was a pawn in a battle much bigger than herself. Klein spoke again, his voice grave. "Emma, you need to understand something. Vivian is powerful, but she's not the real threat. The people she's working with, they're dangerous, and they won't stop until they get what they want." The tension in the room was palpable. Emma's mind raced. She had no idea what she was up against, but one thing was clear. She couldn't trust anyone anymore. Not Vivian. Not even Darren. They had all been tangled in this web of lies and secrets for too long. But she couldn't back down. Not now. "Where is Vivian?" Emma asked, her voice steady despite the fear clawing at her chest. "I want to confront her. I want to hear her confess." Klein exchanged a look with Darren. "You're not ready for that yet. Vivian has too many connections. If you confront her now, it will be a disaster. We need to gather more evidence, build a case against her." Emma shook her head. "I don't care about the case. I care about the truth. I need to know what happened to my mother, why she ran away, and what role my grandfather played in all of this." Darren took a step forward, his expression filled with determination. "We'll help you find the answers. But you have to trust us. This is bigger than you think." If we go after Vivian now, we risk everything. We need to be strategic. Emma's mind was a whirlwind of emotions. She had been thrown into a world of betrayal, deceit, and danger, and now she had to navigate it on her own. She had been given a glimpse into her family's darkest secrets, and though she was terrified, she knew one thing for certain. She wasn't going to let Vivian or anyone else get away with what they had done. "I'm not going to wait," Emma said, her voice resolute. "I'm going to find the truth, and I'll do whatever it takes to bring it to light." The next few weeks were a blur of clandestine meetings, careful planning, and more revelations. Emma, Darren, and Agent Klein worked together, piecing together the puzzle of her family's past. They uncovered more about the criminal network her grandfather had been involved in and the role Vivian had played in it. But as they dug deeper, they also uncovered something more shocking, something that would change everything. Her mother's disappearance hadn't been a random act. It had been orchestrated. Emma's mother had been involved in exposing the network her grandfather had been a part of, and when she had uncovered too much, she had become a target. The night she had disappeared, it wasn't because she had wanted to escape, it was because she had been forced to leave. Her life had been in danger, and the pendant had been her grandfather's way of protecting her from those who would stop at nothing to silence her. But the truth had never died. It had only been buried. And now, Emma was determined to uncover it once and for all. In the end, the truth came out in a way no one had expected. Vivian was arrested, the criminal network dismantled, and Emma inherited her grandfather's estate. But it wasn't the wealth or the mansion that mattered to her. What mattered was the truth about her mother, her grandfather, and the legacy of secrets that had nearly destroyed her family. And as Emma stood at her mother's grave, the pendant resting gently in her palm, she knew that her journey was far from over. The truth had set her free, but it had also opened a new chapter, one where she would continue to fight for justice, for herself, and for the memory of the mother she had lost. The past had been revealed, but the future was hers to shape. And Emma was determined to shape it with truth, courage, and strength.